Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about Andrew Yang, an incredibly powerful, important lesson that Bernie Sanders is shouting at Andrew Yang that Andrew Yang needs to learn. All right? Right now, I have a deeper, more robust understanding of American politics and a deeper, more robust understanding of the 2020 U.S. presidential primary candidacy race. Right? And this all came from the movie Zombieland Double Tap. All right, it unlocked the meaning of our current election for me. All right, there are zero spoilers for Zombieland Double Tap in this content. All right, let's get into this. Okay, so literally an hour ago, I'm super excited. I want to get this out and tell you right away because I'm so excited about this. I really have a new understanding of American politics right now, and I'm always I'm always trying to understand this incredibly complex and important and wonderful and intriguing and frustrating system that is American politics, right? But I got it right, and Zombieland Double Tap is the key. All right, so here's where we land, right? So, I go to see Zombieland Double Tap, right? And I'm watching it, and I'm just soaking up the good, zombie shooting action in the movie. And I'm a big, zombie genre fan, right? Just love the genre, right? And so then, like, on the, 40-foot screen, Rosario Dawson comes on. And I'm like, whoa, that's Cory Booker's girlfriend. Like, I'm a huge fan of Rosario Dawson. I was a fan of her way before I knew she was Cory Booker's girlfriend. But the politics are in my head now. We're in game time. Like we're in 13th month run up to deciding our next president, right? And so I see Rosario Dawson. I was like, wow, she is an incredibly skilled actress, and she is very winsome. My appreciation of Cory Booker goes up just because she's willing to date him. Like, he must be a cooler dude than I thought, right? Like, so I was like, yeah, And then I'm watching her on the screen, and and I'm trying to enjoy my zombie movie, but all I can think is Cory Booker, right? And I'm like, oh, poor Cory Booker, man, he ain't gonna win, right? Like, and I'm like, and I was like, well, what could he do to win? Because that's how I think, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, Cory Booker could marry. He could propose to Rosario Dawson, and if she accepted, he could marry her, right? And I was like, whoa, Scott, right? And this was very distracting from my zombie mind. I was like, hold your horses there, Scott. A man can't just ask a woman to marry him so that he can gain some points in the U.S. presidential primary, candidacy race. That's not fair. That's not fair to Rosario Dawson. That's not fair to Cory Booker. Maybe he had other plans. Maybe he don't want to be married, right? And I was like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. And then I was like, oh my gosh, right? And like epiphany, I understood the lesson that Bernie Sanders is shouting at Andrew Yang, right? Oh my gosh, I have been stewing in my juices for a week and a half since Bernie Sanders had a heart attack. And I'm like, what the heck? Why didn't he announce like day after that he was out, right? Why is he wasting people's time with this? You can't have somebody running for presidency who just had a heart attack. This is like, where's the logic? This doesn't make any sense, right? But Zombieland Double Tap just like completely explained to me in a moment of seeing Rosario Dawson and thinking about Cory Booker that Bernie's right and I'm wrong. Bernie is 100% right to run for president now. This has been his drive for, well over 5 or 6 years now, maybe even longer than that, right? And I was thinking about it and I was like, oh my gosh, I understand it now, right? Bernie Sanders is willing to die for this job. Bernie Sanders is willing to die for a single day as president. A single day, right? Like, he's like, and I was thinking, wait. He's willing to die for a single day as president? And that is my new understanding. I truly believe Bernie Sanders knows this is an incredible risk. By all the logic in the world, you would just drop out. You would take a knee. Come on. When you have a heart attack, it's time to take a knee, right? And Bernie's like, no, I'm driving forward, right? And I was thinking about this. I'm like, what the heck, right? If Bernie's willing to die for a single day as president. And guess what? That'd be perfectly okay if he did. And the reason why is we have an incredible system. We have an incredibly strong system in America. It's rock solid, right? If he dies, we have a long chain of succession. The vice president would be there, right? It would be fine. Bernie could die on day one, and we'd be fine because we have a strong, incredibly capable, foundational system of government, right? Right now, the England, or actually Great Britain, the UK, right? The United Kingdom is having a constitutional crisis, right? And we're having a little bit of a constitutional crisis too. So what do? We go to our written constitutional crisis. England doesn't even have a written constitutional crisis. I'm not kidding. It's a gentleman's agreement, right? Like, I'm like, what? Like, it's literally a verbal. Like, you wouldn't even buy a car like this. It's like, but we have a rock solid foundation. If Bernie dies on day one, there's not a problem, right? So he can continue to drive toward this. But what really blew my mind, and what Bernie is declaring to everyone, is he's just reminding us all of who and what we are. What we are, right? Now, I want to explain to you exactly what America is, right? So, when we're compared to the other countries in this world, right? Some countries help to free us. Thank you very much, France. We will never forget Lafayette. Some countries disagree with us. Fie to you, Canada, right? Every country wants to be us. You know you do, China, right? All right, and so, that's in my head, but even bigger than that, right? All right, my daughter is in college now. When she was in her junior and senior year in high school, I spent 2 years. She's a huge art fan. I need to tell you this story just to get you there, so we all understand why Bernie is doing what he's doing. And Zombieland Double Tap reminded me, right? It's so easy to forget who we are, what we are, right? But Bernie has not forgotten. Bernie has not forgotten, all right? All right, so every one Sunday a month, first Sunday of the month, at the Philadelphia Art Museum, it's pay what you want, right? Now, I got 4 kids. I'm trying to put them through college, so we don't have a lot of money. So I would take my art daughter, right, my daughter who absolutely loves art, and I would take her to the Philadelphia Art Museum. We would park, go in, and walk around that place from 1 to 5, like 4 hours every month for 2 years, right? We walked across every single spot in that museum. And I will tell you, I learned 2 things from walking around the Philadelphia Art Museum. I do not love stodgy old paintings on walls, but I do love my daughter, right? So I spent 2 years walking around the Philadelphia Art Museum once a month for 4 hours, looking at every single painting in there, looking at all the art in there. And I learned 2 things, right? 1, 18th century Danish painters suck. Where's the resolution? Why is everything so blurry? Come on, like, be a little more detailed. 2, right? Second thing I learned, if you are the American president, right, the plate that you scooped up your corn and shoved it in your maw on will go in a museum. It will go in a museum. It will be put behind glass, and they will sit a guard in the corner of that room because you scraped some corn off that plate once and shoved it in your mouth, right? This is America. When you are the president of the United States of America, you will never be forgotten. Like, whoever wins this next election, right? Who's going to be, let's put it this way. Andrew Yang's plates will be in a museum on Mars. He will never be forgotten once he wins, right? That's why Bernie is doing what he's doing. He has never forgotten who and what we are. The U.S. president, the United States of America is the greatest nation on this planet, bar none. We are the greatest nation in history. Liberty, freedom, right? Those things are real here. They were concepts elsewhere. They are real here, right? And our leader is etched into history like 1,000 feet high. He or she will never be forgotten, right? And that is why Bernie Sanders is striving and driving to get even a single day where he can make a single law or make a single decree or do one thing to make the American people have better lives, right? And when I saw that, I was like, whoa, Bernie's redefining what running for the president is. Completely redefining it. All right, so let's set the stakes in the ground. When you run for president, you cannot break the law and you cannot hurt someone, okay? We're going to call that the law-paying rule. You cannot break the law-paying rule. But beyond that, there are no limits. There are no limits. And Bernie is just shouting this to Andrew Yang. He's like, I'm willing to die for this, right? What are you willing to do? Do you have limits? Is there somewhere where you stop, right? Because I'm willing to die for a single day, right? And like once I saw Rosario Dawson in Zombieland Double Tap, it was just an epiphany. I realized Bernie realizes what it means to be president. Beyond the law-paying rule, there are no limits, right? So absolutely, Cory Booker should go get the biggest ring he can find and go find Rosario Dawson and ask her to marry him, right? And the reason why is it's worth it. It's worth it, right? Rosario Dawson isn't bigger than this nation. She's not bigger than the presidency. Cory Booker isn't. What they want is second to the history of this world. And that's what the presidency is. It is a manifestation of the history of the greatest nation on earth in a single person, right? And absolutely, Cory Booker should go ask Rosario Dawson to marry him because his bachelorhood is his biggest weakness. This country has never elected a bachelor except twice. The first time it happened was the guy before Lincoln, and he defended Dred Scott. It was terrible. The second time it happened, the dude was like, oh man, I better get married. He got married in like the first 3 months of his candidacy, of his presidency, right? So there's never been a successful bachelor president. I think it's seriously hurting Cory Booker. And frankly, I like Rosario Dawson. I respect her. I like Cory Booker. I respect him. But when you go into that election, right, it's no limits, right? There is the law-paying rule. But beyond there, there's no limits. Nothing comes before it. Bernie's willing to die for a single day. A single day. Bernie's willing to die for a single day to help this nation. One. Right? And and honestly, I was so frustrated with Bernie. I was so frustrated to see him in the debate. But I have to admit, my respect for Bernie Sanders has doubled. Right? Which means I think he's half as cool as Andrew Yang. Right? So I really think it's important that Andrew Yang stops, goes and sees Zombieland Double Tap. And the reason why is that movie is filled with politics. There's 6 presidents named directly in the film, right? Elizabeth Warren is referenced multiple times indirectly, right? Cory Booker, every time Rosario Dawson's on the scene, you just see Cory Booker, right? Because if you're in the game, if you're following this, you understand that link, right? And, Rosario Dawson, if the impossible happens, Rosario Dawson could be the first lady, right? Like when you see Zombieland Double Tap, that's all you can see, right? You're like, is this our next first lady? If aliens abducted Andrew Yang and he wasn't here to be president, that's about the only way this would happen, that Cory Booker would possibly beat Andrew Yang. But when you see this movie, you're like, oh my gosh, it's just so huge in your head. But the reality is, I'm just blown away. I was so frustrated with Bernie. I really was like, this is not good. And then I understood it in a moment. Bernie understands it. Your life is worth a single day of the presidency. A single day, right? If Bernie had one day to help this nation, he would do something big. He would use the power of that office to change lives. I know that. And he's betting his life on it, right? So absolutely, Cory Booker should go get a ring and ask Rosario Dawson to marry him. It would give him 10 points in the polls. It would dominate the press, and that's just it, right? Law-paying rules in effect, but everything else, there's no limits, right? And Andrew Yang has to realize this right now. He has already sacrificed time with his with his wife and with his sons. These are precious moments. Every day is a precious moment. He sacrificed that. But unfortunately, Bernie's redefined what it takes to get there. He's like, I'm willing to bet my life, which ups the bar for every candidate, and most importantly, it ups the bar for Andrew Yang. And Andrew, you've been doing so good. I'm so proud of you. You've given up so much. But you got to remember, you got to remember the law of pain rule. You can't break it. But beyond that, there's no limits. And you got to be ready. You got to be ready for those sacrifices. You got to be ready to drive beyond. And the reason why is Bernie Sanders is shouting a lesson to you. Get ready, Andrew. Thank you guys very much for letting me share this quite unusual epiphany I had today. I'm just so super excited. Get out and see Zombieland 2. Double Tap. Zombieland Double Tap. It's fantastic. Thanks again for letting me share this with you. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with me that beyond the law pain rule, there's no limits? If you don't, let me know in the comments below. If I've given you a greater understanding, let me know that down there too. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.